Hi, this is Brent with the CMP team. Our team chose to make a game called Dominion, which will be uploaded to a website. And our team consists of Matthew, Carlos, and myself, Brent. The game that we're making is going to be on a website, and it's an electronic version of the card game Dominion, which means that the players don't have to set up the game or clean up the mess when it's done. And we're making this game for people who are familiar with the card game Dominion already. Probably people who have played it a few times, because there isn't really a tutorial. And it's also for people who just want to play a quick game without having to set everything up. And people who don't have human players to play against, so they can play against the computer instead. And currently the game has a table view. And here's the view of the table, with the supply up here, and the player's hand down here. And right now the cards grow when you mouse over them, so you can read them. And also, you can play the cards from your hand, like these. And you may have noticed the number of coins increased when we played these cards. And then there's also feedback for when you click on the cards. If you can see it, it blinks. But we haven't added buy card function yet. And that's pretty much it for the current features. And here's the code for the main part of the game. So when the player clicks on a card in their hand, this is the code. Basically, the get card function will return an object of the card, which is all the way down here. Here's the get card function. And if the card that they clicked on was copper, then they would return the number of points they would receive, and also the image and some other stuff that we don't use for this particular thing. And then we use some jQuery for the fancy effects. And then here's the supply table. And right now, we just have the user feedback with jQuery. So the card will blink when they click on it. And when the game starts, right now it's automatically 3 players. And these are the cards that are in the supply. Then this keeps track of how many cards are left in each deck. So there are 10 chapel cards, etc. And depending on how many players are in the game, there will be a different quantity of each card in the supply. So if there are 2 players, there's 8 cards instead of 10. etc. And to shuffle the cards so that they show up at random each time we start a new game, which I can show you what that looks like. So here are the cards right now. Gardens is the first kingdom card, and when we refresh, Gardens is down here. So the kingdom cards get randomized, and also the player hand gets shuffled. And the shuffle function is right here. And we actually used a pre-written function for that. And also when the game starts, a player is created, and here's their deck, which has 7 cards. And then, of course, their hand only has 5 cards right here. So the rest of their cards are in their deck. And we also shuffle their deck. That's why it shows up in a different order. And right here we're drawing cards from the player's deck. And the draw function is right here. And this basically just puts the number that count is of the cards in the player's deck into their hand right here. And we also, this draws the supply and the player's hand to the screen. So whenever we change the player's hand or their supply, we call this function. So it shows up on the screen, one of these functions. And this is another refresh function, so it also draws something to the screen. It draws the player stats. So when I clicked on the player, on one of the cards in the player's hands, it removes one of the copper. And as you can see, it updates that number to 1. That's what this function does. And then there are some functions that aren't really in use yet. They're under construction. Like play card, which eventually this will, well, we already have the play card for coin, but that's the only one. So you can only play cards that are copper, silver, or gold. And then eventually we'll have a buy card function. So when a player clicks on a card in the supply, if they have sufficient coins, if this number is high enough, as you can see, this card costs 3 coins. So if we play both of these, we would be able to buy this card. Then when a player ends their turn, we'll eventually add AI, so the next player will play. And that's it for the JavaScript code, but we also have the HTML. And This is obviously just the layout of the website. And these are class card. And also, they each have a separate ID, so that we can control each of them separately. And same with the cards in the hand. And that's all for our current features. And another great thing about this game is that the system requirements are very low. So players really only need a very basic computer to play the game. Right now it doesn't work on cell phones or anything like that, though. In the future, we plan on adding the ability to buy the card and the ability to start a new game with the new game button. Right now you can refresh the browser to create a new game. We also want the end turn button to initiate the AI's turn, and the ability to choose the number of AI players, and a functional trash card button. And if we had more time, there would be other features we could add, like a high scores list and also multiplayer, so people could play over the internet. And we could even make a hot seat type game. But we're not going to do that this semester. And that's all for this presentation. Thank you.